Now, de-escalation strategies can be put into place when children have reached the height of their internal emotional stress. So that moment when they are at the top, they're at boiling point, everything's bubbled over, they can't express themselves, they don't know how to handle all these emotions, and they are right at the top of their level of emotions. Let's call it the peak. So a child's emotions starts with the calm, then there's a trigger, and then there's agitation, then acceleration, then the peak, and that is where our de-escalation strategies come into place, when the children are sat at that peak. And once we can bring them down from that peak, that is our de-escalation. So all of the strategies that we put into place and everything that we're doing to support them to come down to the post-crisis dip, that dip after the crisis where everything just kind of goes, oh, I'm exhausted. I've just reached my emotional state peak and I'm exhausted. And then we go to recovery and we carry on. So we start down here, we go all the way up to the peak, and then we can help children to come back down into that recovery. And that is essentially what we need to do with de-escalation strategies. They're in place to help children get from here back down to here. Through de-escalation strategies, we think about why children need to be able to label their emotions. Now, we know that children learn through experience. We are social learners and we learn through doing and experiencing things and making those neurological pathways stronger. So children are more likely to understand their emotions when they're talked through them with somebody else, when you're showing them what these different emotions feel like and what we are doing to label them with each child individually. And children will usually learn the name of different emotions through the language that they are taught. So depending on what we are teaching children, that is what hopefully they're going to pick up, and we are going to be able to turn around and give them some language to be able to support those emotions internally and externally. So when we talk about experiences and that children learn through experiences, we know that children will learn that their emotions are valid if we teach them that they're valid. We begin to learn that the experiences that children have with physical experiences and emotional experiences are so important and equally as important, because the way we react to children's emotions is going to show them and create their roadmap of their internal workings of the world as to how people react to their emotions. We need to make sure that we're teaching children that we will support them through their emotions, and that actually it's not the emotion that we are necessarily upset with or sometimes want to defeat. It's the action that comes with certain reactions to the buildup of those emotions. And the way that children eventually learn to respond to their different emotions is actually going to be based on the experience that we give them through those emotions. So if a child never learns that if they are sad and upset that someone will cuddle them, they'll begin to not want to show that emotion, because the desired reaction for it of affection and comfort and somebody being really calm with them and helping them through it, they're not going to get. So they're going to struggle to show that emotion. Same with everything, happiness, anger, anxiousness, whatever it might be. If their response to that emotion is going to be based on the experiences that they have when dealing with that emotion and the people around them. It's going to build up their roadmap of the world and of emotions, and we need to make sure we're making emotional de-escalation a really positive one, so that children continue to learn how to deal with their emotions. Our own internal sensory system is one that provides feedback from within the brain to vital organs around the body. And our brain interprets the signals from those organs and determines how we're going to react to certain situations. These internal signals will tell us about our psychological state, and that includes emotions. And we need to understand that everyone's internal signals will be different, and that emotions don't just come out. There's no emotional fingerprint. There's nothing that says, if you're happy, do this. If you're sad, do this. Everyone's internal signals are different, and everybody reacts to those internal signals different. Take me, for example. I am a very emotional person. If I'm happy, I will cry. If I'm sad, I will cry. If I'm angry, I will cry. If I'm overwhelmed, I will cry. But we teach children that if they're sad, they cry. If they're crying, they're sad. And what we need to do is understand that everyone's internal system is going to work differently, and that children can express their emotions in multiple different ways. Sometimes when we're excited, we show it in different ways. Some young children will use biting as a form of something to let out emotion, whether that's a positive emotion or a negative emotion. It's the same with hitting and kicking, and usually those actions that are associated with negative, because it's just the way that their body is choosing to express. And like we said before, it's not always the emotion that we're trying to dismiss, it's the action that comes with it. Regardless of whether you're feeling happy or sad or angry or tired, biting isn't the right answer. So yes, that might be the way that a child is choosing to express themselves, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're angry or sad. And once we get our head around the fact that everybody can and will express themselves differently, we have to teach that to children and teach that to the people around the children to make sure that everybody understands that the way that children express themselves can be different and can look different for everybody. But when will we need to use de-escalation strategies in the setting? So let's look at it in a practical way. What is it that we can do to put into place to help those de-escalation strategies? We might need to use them when a child does not want to do the instruction that you've asked them to do. For example, putting on their coat. They do not want to put their coat on. It's tipped them over the edge. They're up here. You might need to use some de-escalation strategies to bring them back down and reason with them. It can be the same for a specific toy or resource that they want that it's not their turn to use, somebody else is using it, and again, they're up here and we need to bring them down. Transitions, you might need to use them during transitions because children can get overwhelmed with everything that's going on during transitions, and we just really want to help them to feel calm during these times. It might be at the drop-off of a session, the start of their session, they're leaving their safe place with parents and carers, they're coming into the setting, and even though when they're with us, they have loads of fun, but at that point, the emotion of leaving the people that they know the most could put them to the peak of their emotional state. So those types of times could be really useful to use your de-escalation strategies to help them feel calm and safe again. And it might be something that looks really minor to us. It might be that they've dropped something or things just haven't gone quite right. But actually, we don't know the build-up of everything that's happened before for that child before they arrived with you in the morning. They might have not been able to wear their favourite shoes because it's a nursery day and we don't wear those shoes. Then they got in the car and mum took a different route to the setting, so they didn't get to go past the specific thing that they wanted to see. And then when they dropped sibling off at school, they weren't allowed to get out because it was raining and someone else did the drop off and it was all these different things. And then they've got to you and they've spilt the cup of milk all over the table and it feels like the end of the world. So even if you think that what's just happened is really minor and you say, oh, it's all right, it's fine, it might not be for that child. So these de-escalation strategies are going to help you to help children to regulate and come back down. So let's jump in to strategy number 1.